Hey everyone, welcome to ironSource Monetization Perspective webinar. My name is Yuval Otan and I'm Head of Platform Growth at ironSource. Thank you all for joining us. Today we're going to talk about building and optimizing your mediation strategy. And we're going to look at incremental growth. We'll be touching on placements, analysis, and generating brand revenue. We'll be sending out the webinar's recording tomorrow, so we got you covered. Before we get started, I wanted to take a few seconds to tell you a bit more about ironSource and specifically about ironSource LevelPlay. So ironSource LevelPlay is a leading mediation platform used by thousands of developers to grow their monetization and businesses. If you want to learn more about ironSource LevelPlay, please go to is.com/mediation. Back to today's agenda. So we'll be hearing from 3 ironSource experts. First will come Anna Popereko, a games design consultant at ironSource. Anna is going to talk you through her tips for building a winning placement strategy. Then we'll have Elyse, growth strategy team lead, going to talk you through a real life scenario of how to analyze and optimize your monetization data. And last but not least, we'll have Amit, our VP Global Sales, going to show you how to grab more advertiser revenue for your game. We will be answering all your questions after the webinar, so please make sure to write them down in our Q&A module. And now, let's kick it off with Anna, our game design consultant. Please, Anna.
Hi, everyone. I'm going to share my screen in a moment. You should be seeing my screen. So yes, I'm Anna. I'm a game design consultant in ironSource. I'm working with our mediation partners, and I'm advising them on how to make their games better and basically make more profit. Today we're going to talk about several things. First, I'm going to do an intro to ad units, genres, and currencies. Someone is saying that Anna is quiet. Please put plus if you can hear me in the chat. Amazing. I see a lot of pluses. If you don't hear me, please check on your side. Thank you. So we're going to look also into the fundamentals of every ad unit, rewarded video, interstitial, and offer wall. And we're going to see how to put it to practice with the LevelPlay. We're going to talk about 4 ad units. The first 2, rewarded video and offer wall, they're user initiated, meaning the player is starting them, and the interstitials and banners that are starting by themselves when player probably not expecting them. Rewarded video is where player initiates the video or ad unit and get rewards really instantly after the video. It really has a good increases the engagement rate with the game. It can improve the user experience in the app purchases. Offer wall is a bigger player initiated ad unit. Player usually chooses a long offer from a list and gets valuable reward when he's completing it. It takes more time than 30 seconds than the rewarded video. It has crazy CPMs. We're going to talk a bit more about how to make the most out of it. It also improves the retention, long-term retention, and can improve the revenue. Interstitials are the ad units that are jumping when player does not expect them, but actually very good monetizes them in certain genres. They have like very high engagement rate and high CPMs as well. And banners are always there on the screen. We are barely going to talk with them about them because like think when was the last time you clicked on the banner yourself. If we're looking at the genres, how does this ad unit spread out through the genres? Here we have like a stretch from hyper casual to hardcore. The more hyper casual game is, the more self-initiated ad units there will be, because they're need to monetize the player quickly through the interstitials and banners. Rewarded video, every genre out there can benefit from the rewarded video this way or another. And overall is usually the most beneficial for the mid-core and hardcore genres, and we will see a bit later why and how they can do that. Okay, I have genres, I have ad units. How do I do that in the game? Where do I throw them in the game? Basically, almost every game has different types of currency. Hard currency like gems, diamonds are the currencies that are usually purchased via in-app purchases, and they're very like not a lot in the game or not at all unless you are buying them. And usually the offer wall is the best ad unit to monetize them. We're getting back to mid-core and hardcore games. Also, rewarded video can be an option for ad unit there. Soft currency, which has the lowest value for the players, like coins, credits, something that there is a lot in the game, a general purpose currency, something that you can get a lot and then you are spending a lot. Also rewarded video, not also rewarded video is the main ad unit here. Medium currency is basically everything else. It can be power-ups, it can be like not obvious currency like lives. It's basically something supportive in the game. It's something that the player needs to grind, or it's limited the maximum of it, like lives. Also can be monetized and should be monetized through rewarded video. We're going to go through the fundamentals of the ad implementation. There are not a lot. There are four main fundamentals. We're going to go through them one by one. First of all, remember that ads are the part of game economy. When you're planning the game, try to plan the ad monetization along with your in-app purchases. I believe that every game out there has a place for ad implementation, and think about it about parallel to in-app purchases. Do not make it on top on in-app purchases. When you're adding an implementation, remember and build and balance that with your economy in mind, not the eCPM. eCPM can change, your economy is stable, but when you're building it in, calculate as if every player was watching a rewarded video, calculate that into your economy calculation. Say you have like a player of level 10 that has like 100 coins by the time, and he has a chance to watch 3 videos, 10 coins each. So you need to assume that by that level, the player will have 130 coins, not 100. This is how we will understand how to make the further calculations in the game. The second fundamentals, make your ads accessible, clear, and exciting, especially for the user initiated, mainly for the user initiated. One of the most important things in ad implementation is to know what player wants and what will help them in the game at any specific time of the game. Not just to know and to see other games of the same genre and try to put the same placements as they do, but actually understand your player. When you understand your player, you will find the right place. Clearly state the reward, use attractive buttons that are standing out from the other buttons in the game because they're doing the different thing. Make sure that the buttons are really easily recognizable, and like every part of the game, make sure that in order to reach this button, the player needs to have minimum amount of taps, because at every tap he makes, there is a possibility that he will leave a chart. Then remember that you can segment your players. You can, when you have a game, you can see that some of the players have different experience. Some are paying, some are not paying, some are staying, some are not staying. You can analyze that behavior and segment your users and segment your also monetization strategy according to that. Some of the segmentations that's can be done is like paying, non-paying, whales, dolphins, by session length, loyal, casual. It really depends on your game. Also, like the more coreness, hardcore game it is, the more segmentation probably there will be. And the last fundamental, but not least, is test. Please, I beg you, test. Whatever you are doing, test, A/B test everything. When you're implementing ad monetization, start with few placements, add more and more. When you're A/B testing, make one change at a time. You're making 3 changes, your retention drops, your revenue increases and retention drops. What made this change? You don't know. You need to do one change at a time to specifically know what affected what. Test the capping, test the pacing for every placement. And like my 2 golden rules is, if something doesn't perform, you can improve it. If something performs good, you can improve it. So A/B test everything, and I beg you to do that. We're moving to specific ad units. Rewarded video ad monetization. Rewarded video, again, know what your player wants at any point of time. The most popular places of rewarded video are the following. And this is basically spreads to every genre because they are very general. But I believe that you will find in your game where to put them. First of all, you can give the player the taste of premium features. If you have enough purchases, or subscription, give something out of that in not a big amount for him to appreciate the value of it, and maybe he will also convert into a paying user. To extend the player sessions, that is referring to a currency that is limited or that is limiting the session. For example, lives, energy, whatever. When the player is running out of them, give him a bit more to stay a bit more in the game. When the player is at a point of struggle, failing, not succeeding, give him a continue level or a power up, something that makes him feel better and win there. And help the player to get slightly more from the app, which is tightly connected with the mystery reward. Give him something that he does not expect, or give him something that he expects as a mystery rewards, but he doesn't know what. That can be a gacha, a wheel of fortune, a lucky draw, something that he will really needs and will appreciate. Again, A/B test capping, pacing, A/B test the reward that you are giving and the quantity of reward. Remember about your economy whenever you're giving. If you're, for example, adding the rewarded video to an existing game, you will need to adjust the economy of the game. You cannot just like put it on top in order to economy to continue working. Keep that in mind. Interstitials. Rules of thumb. Interstitials are intrusive and they're kind of dangerous ad unit, because if you just throw a lot of interstitials, you will scare away the player and they will leave. Again, remember about A/B testing and put the interstitials in the following places. First of all, when the player has positive emotions. If you have a game that every level is ending in a lose, only in a lose, you can only lose. I don't know, there are games like that. Consider not putting interstitial in the end of the level, but in the beginning. Because in the end of the level, the player will have like this loss emotion and the interstitial will just get on his nerves and there might be a higher possibility of churn. When the player has no natural pause in the flow, you finish the level, he's switching between the menus, something like that. Also, a very popular placement for interstitial is around the rewarded video placement. When the player decides not to engage with the rewarded video when he's given an option, or even before he is given an option to watch a rewarded video, to avoid this like punishment interstitial option. Remember to A/B test frequency. For example, hyper casual games have frequency of like 20 to 40 seconds, but they can vary really and depend on the genre and the game itself, and make sure that you always take a look at the churn and the retention of the game when you're adding and playing with the interstitials. Again, it's a dangerous thing, and you can start losing players. Offer wall. Offer wall is one of the, I think, underappreciated ad units out there. Offer wall is not working for all the games like rewarded video. Rewarded video can be in hyper casual, it can be in hardcore, but for offer wall to work, there need to be like two main rules for a title. First of all, a strong hard currency that players need along all the game, and they're missing it, and they're like barely getting it, and they're really needed in order to progress or progress faster. The second one is that there needs to be engaged non-paying players who don't want or cannot pay inside of the game. Players who have long retention, they will pay in offer wall, but they will pay not with their money, but they will pay with their time. By completing the offers, getting this amount of credits. The bonus thing of the offer wall for the developer is that you can actually set up the same price that you have in the shop. Say you have like 1 gem for $1 in the shop, and you can set up the same 1 gem for $1 in the offer wall. And when the player is finishing like 900 gems offers, you're getting $900. The CPMs and offer walls are crazy. The engagement rate is pretty low because it's kind of aiming at the long retention players, but the CPM is crazy, especially in the like mid-core, hardcore subgenres, specific subgenres. Main places to put offer wall: main screen. It's lobby hangers, small screen, home screen whenever the player is launching the game. We had a case in summer when one of the big games they had an offer wall before, but they put an offer wall button on the main screen, and then they had a spike when the players noticed that and started to engage with the offer wall. When the player got used to that, the offer wall revenue stabilized, but it was already 30% more than it was before than on the main screen. Classic placement is on the shop screen, like there is a special deal. You can put it as a like here is like gems for free, so on. And consider also putting them in screens where playing are spending the hard currency, and when they're needing hard currency, like, okay, you're liking the hard currency here, you can go to the shop or go to the offer wall. And this is it from my side. I'm going to give the microphone back to Yuval, and he's going to show how to put that to practice with LevelPlay. And if you have any questions to me, feel free to put that in Q&A.
Awesome, thank you, Anna. So first thing I will say is that our top clients are also getting tailored recommendation by Anna, our game design consultant expert. So definitely an ambition to be at, and this is something that we do, and we believe in the huge growth potential. So thank you, Anna. That was very enlightening. I appreciate if you can move to the next slide, and then we'll talk about how you can utilize these tools with our platform. So basically, using LevelPlay mediation, you can utilize two super important tools for Anna's description and game ad implementation in general. One would be segments, the other one would be placements. So let's cover them real quickly. Segments, basically a feature in LevelPlay mediation. It allows you to segment your own users based on your data, based on whatever you want to segment it by. Of course, there's also some segment that we know upfront, right? App, OS version, etc. But if you want to go more sophisticated, then you just connect these events. You don't need to expose them. You can use custom settings. And with these segments of types of users, you can basically do the following. One, you can look at accurate data per segment, right? So you can understand eCPM, engagement, usage, and more per each segment, which gives you a lot of insights about how you should A/B test with other ideas that you have. You can do a waterfall per segment and really optimize different types of users. You can have different ad units per segments, exactly as Anna said, different users, requires different treatment, and you can mitigate your risk, and you can try A/B testing more aggressively using different ad units per segment. And of course, you can change also through the platform, capping, pacing, and rewards per segment. In the next slide, I'm going to talk about the next phase of segmentation that we're just announcing, which is dynamic segmentation. So what's the idea here? Dynamic segmentation basically allows you to change user segments during the session. Okay, so it means basically, bottom line, first of all, better segmentation, because you're more flexible and you don't need to do it between sessions. You can do it during the session. And if someone just now became likely to become paying users, you will know that during the session, you will be able to implement the things you want to for this type of users. This also allows you actually to use waterfall per ad placement. If you connect segments to placements, ad placements in your game, you can have a total different experience per ad location. There's other usages. You can use a bidding only waterfall if you wanted to load faster. You can use different ad types like playable static on specific placements. You can direct deals on specific users at a specific time. You can lower the amount of videos per a highly paying user, likely to become paying user during the session, etc. So this is about segments. The second feature that is very relevant is placements. In terms of placements, Anna, please move to the last slide. So ad placements is another LevelPlay mediation feature. It's basically the connection between your ad placements in the game and your mediation platform. So what can you do with that? First of all, you can set up the placements that you have in your app to the placements that you set up in the mediation. And by that, do the following. First of all, as we said about segments, you can really understand what's going on with each placement, user engagement with that placement, the efficiency or ECPM of that placement, the revenue, and of course, all other KPIs, accurate KPIs on the placement level, which is super beneficial. Then you can use our A/B testing module in the platform in LevelPlay and easily test placements with the strategies that Anna just shared, see the results, implement it on the others, and start a new A/B test, etc. And you can also in real time control in capping, pacing, even the rewards through the platform without the need to change anything on the placement level. So yeah, this is how you can use the platform and basically utilize Anna's recommendation. Anna, thank you so much. I'm sure you'll get a lot of questions and follow-ups. And yeah, I think we can continue to Elyse.
Thanks, Yuval. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. 1 second. Hi, everyone. My name is Elyse Krumholz, and I'm a growth strategy team leader here at ironSource. And today I'm going to talk to you all about how to analyze and optimize your monetization strategy. So to start with, I wanted to go over first the key components of monetization strategy. There are a few different ways that you can generate revenue from your game via ads, subscriptions, in-app purchases. And today we're going to focus specifically on your ad monetization strategy and how to analyze and optimize it. So first, it's important to understand the two key components that go into your ad monetization strategy. We can break it down into two pieces: your ad implementation strategy and your ad network strategy. Your ad implementation strategy is all about how you incorporate ads into your game, which ad formats you use, like rewarded video, interstitial, offer wall, like Anna just showed, where in the game you place ads, which users you show ads to, how often you show ads, and more. And your ad network strategy is all about which ad networks you're using to fill ads in your game and how you're working with those ad networks, for example, with bidding or instances. And as Anna just talked about, the golden standard for analyzing and optimizing any part of your monetization strategy is A/B testing. ironSource's LevelPlay has a really simple A/B testing tool that allows you to A/B test everything from adding a new ad network, changing the setup of instances in your waterfall, adding a new ad placement, and soon you'll also be able to test in just one click the capping and pacing by ad unit and reward amounts for RV. This is something totally new that you'll be able to do in just one click. So in this session, I thought it would be useful to walk you through a real life example and show you how you could go about analyzing your data from an A/B test and then optimizing it. So in this example, I'm going to focus on testing a change to your ad implementation. So let's think about your game, and you're thinking about adding a new RV placement to your game. So you're going to start by setting up an A/B test on the LevelPlay platform. And the first step in this process is really defining your KPI for success when you're starting the test. So you want to think about, do you care about your ARPDAU? Do you care about retention? Do you care about the overall revenue you're generating from this new RV placement? Are you looking at a specific performance of a specific ad network? Or maybe you have another KPI that you're focusing on. So for this example specifically, I'm going to define that for my new RV placement, I will call it a success if I'm generating incremental ARPDAU from the placement, but without sacrificing the retention of my users. So now that I have a test live, I'll set it up in the LevelPlay platform. Now I need to start checking my results. So I'm going to walk you through how I would do that. So once I start running an A/B test, first of all, I'll see a snapshot of the overall results in the A/B testing page of the LevelPlay platform. This is helping me really to monitor key KPIs from a high level. But now I want to start actually breaking down my results and understanding what's behind them. So the first place that I'm going to start is the performance reports page in the platform, where I can see KPIs like revenue, impressions, eCPM, fill rate. I can see these KPIs overall for my entire app portfolio, or I can filter and break down by many different metrics, by app, by country, by ad unit, by a specific ad source, and more. And I can also break down or filter by A or B group to examine specific results of my A/B test. So in this case, in one click of, we have a show reports button in the A/B test page, it's going to take me to the performance page, and I can see all of my results broken by A versus B group, filtered for the specific app that I'm testing in. So now I would filter for rewarded video, since this is the ad unit that I care about. And I'm going to break by A versus B to compare simply the revenue and impressions per group. So let's say that the revenue impressions look higher for group B. This is my test group, which has the new rewarded video placement. That's great. Things are going in the right direction, but I'm not getting the whole story yet. I want to understand what this actually means in terms of my ARPDAU. So to do this, I'm going to move to the user activity page. And there's a great feature in the LevelPlay platform that I can seamlessly switch between different reporting pages, like the performance reports and the user activity reports, all in one click. So, all of my filters that I previously applied will remain the same. And this will help me to continue investigating my specific test and what happened here. So here specifically in the user activity reports, I can see KPIs like ARPDAU, DAU, daily engaged users, engagement rate, which is the percentage of my DAU that are actually watching ads. I can see the impressions per daily engaged user, which is something called usage rate, and other KPIs. So you guessed it, I can now actually compare my A versus B groups on this page as well. So what I'm trying to understand here is, how is my ARPDAU different in A versus B group, my test group, and actually how much higher is it? So let's say that I see with my new rewarded video placement in my A/B test that I'm getting 25% higher ARPDAU. It's an amazing result. And now I actually want to understand, why is it higher? What is behind this increase? Is it because I'm actually engaging more users with ads than before? Or is it the same number of users that were watching ads in my game before are still watching ads, and now they're just watching more rewarded video? So for this, I can check how the engagement rate and the usage rate, again, usage rate is the impressions per daily engaged user, I can check how those differ by A and B group. So let's say I discover my engagement rate didn't actually change. No new users are engaging with RV ads, but the usage rate for my users in the B group, which is my test group, is now 5 compared to 4 in A, which is my control group. What this means is that the users in my game who are watching ads are now watching 5 rewarded videos per day instead of 4. And that's what's leading to the increase in my ARPDAU, which I saw with the ARPDAU breakdown by A versus B. So now I'm starting to get a clearer picture of actually what's behind my results. But remember that I said our goal is to understand if ARPDAU increases without actually hurting retention. So now I need to understand how is this new rewarded video placement affecting my retention. So I'm going to move to the next report. And this is the cohort report. So the cohort report is going to enable me to group users with common characteristics, mainly their install date, and measure specific KPIs for these groups over different timeframes. So with this, I can understand retention, and I can also understand the actual LTV of the users. So on this page, I can also break down my results by A versus B, and I can now understand if the users who are now watching more RV ads because of this new placement that I'm testing, I can understand if they're actually sticking around in my game to continue playing. So I'll go to this cohort reports page. I'll filter for the time period of my test. I'll break down by A versus B group, and I'll see the results. So let's say that a higher percentage of users in the test group are also retained longer. Let's say I'm looking at retention day 7 compared to the retention rate of the control group. So what this actually means is I'm getting higher ARPDAU because those users are generating more impressions and they're sticking around in my game to continue playing. Of course, this is an amazing scenario. But I think this situation really shows you how easy it is to understand these KPIs from the LevelPlay platform. And especially, it's very powerful in the cohort page reports that you can actually break down A/B test results using the cohorts. So I can check the retention by A versus B group, and I can also check the LTV and the ARPU by A group as well. So it's very powerful and something that's really unique to our platform to break down these results by A versus B. So now that I have a strong understanding of how this new RV placement is affecting my revenue, my ARPDAU, my retention, my LTV, I want to talk about a new powerful tool that LevelPlay platform has that's also allowing me to slice and dice my data in even more ways. So this is the new RealTime Pivot Reports. It's a new reporting tool that we offer that's complementing the current reports that we just talked about, but it's also providing additional functionality. So this new tool allows me to analyze many of the KPIs we just talked about all in one place, but it's all in real time. So again, I'll repeat it. All the data here is in real time. This means that the minute I started my A/B test, I can start examining changes in user behavior and also ad network performance. So if I see results that I love, or maybe I see something I really don't like, I can react much more quickly than I could in the past. And of course, these real-time reports can also be used beyond many use cases beyond just checking A/B test results. We can use these reports to optimize apps with real-time data. We can track live performance, maybe after updating our mediation stack. We can know about changes in specific ad networks. Let's say an ad network starts dropping. Within minutes of it dropping, you'll be able to identify this with this tool. And also you can monitor stability of new app versions when they go live. And there's also some interesting features that are part of the real-time pivots. For example, compare mode, which actually allows you can see in the video, it actually allows you to compare KPIs side by side on one screen. So before, when I walked you through the other reporting pages, I'm doing a lot of clicking and filtering to see KPIs, but now I can actually see 2 or more KPIs side by side. And I can easily understand also changes between different time periods. So you see in the video here, it can actually set certain time periods, and I can compare changes and see automatically the percentage differences in different KPIs for different time periods. And this tool is also great because actually you see there's a link at the top of the screen. I can actually just copy a link, create a dashboard, copy the link, and share it with my teammates. So I've done all this analysis. I have some amazing results to show. And now I can easily share it with the click of one button. And whoever I share it with will see the exact same data view as me. All of the reports can be shared, via any communication tool that you're using. So finally, I want to close the loop with this analysis that I've done about my A/B test. And now I can actually close the loop by understanding my entire app performance beyond just monetization with another new tool within the LevelPlay platform, which is something called App Analytics. So App Analytics is empowering you with app-focused measurements and intuitive tools for your core product, which is your app. So you can use it to monitor relevant metrics that are new to the LevelPlay platform, things like playtime, level completions, impressions per users, revenue, not only from ads, but also in-app purchase, all in one place. So I'm going to take you back to the A/B test example that we just talked about. And we saw again that there was an increase in usage rate of RV with this new RV placement that I added to my game. And now I want to understand what is the actual correlation between that increase in usage rate with my users' playtime in the game. So I can understand exactly how much longer users are playing in my game with my new RV placement by examining the playtime KPI here. I can also evaluate if the additional RV placement that I've now added is having an overall impact on my overall app revenue, which is including IAP revenue. Since again, this app analytics tool is now combining IAP and ad revenue together. This is something that is brand new to the LevelPlay platform. So I know already, again, from my previous analysis, that the RV is generating incremental ad revenue, but here I can also make sure that it's not having any impact on my IAP revenue. So this is something very powerful and new. So finally, let's go over the decision that I'm going to make from all of the data that I just analyzed. And my decision is to implement the new rewarded video placement. Again, I used the performance reports, which showed me I was generating higher impressions and revenue from the new RV placement. The user activity reports showed me that I had higher usage rate. The cohort reports showed me that I had higher retention and LTV from this new placement. The real-time pivots showed me the results were strong from the minute that I actually started the test. And the app analytics also showed me that my usage rate was correlated with longer playtime and had no impact on IAP revenue. So that's amazing. I'm gonna implement this new placement, and now I'm gonna start thinking about my next tests. So I can start thinking about testing the frequency of the placement, capping, reward amounts, all the components that Anna talked about in her presentation. So that's all I have for you guys. I hope this session gave you a better understanding of how you can analyze and optimize your strategy with the LevelPlay platform. As we saw, we have a full suite of reporting and analytics tools, which really help you understand your strategy from macro to micro level. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Elyse. That was amazing. And now moving to Amit, our VP Global Sales, please.
Hey guys, how are you? Very nice to meet you all. I'm Amit. I lead our global business development. And on my previous role, I helped build our ironSource Exchange division. So I'm going to speak about that for a bit, and feel free to ask anything you want. I'll share my screen as well. Give a thumbs up if you can see it. All right, perfect. So let's talk a little bit about Exchange, the agenda in the coming few minutes. Small introduction to the ironSource Exchange, a little bit of how the Exchange work in general, not only on ironSource, how brand advertisers perceive you as the inventory, you as the supply, the app developer, and how do we position you when we pitch for more budgets to come in our pipes. And for you, a few tips of how to grab a little bit more of that great budgets into your ecosystem and increase your performance. So let's start. The Asos Exchange, basically, those are programmatic pipes that connects buyers. Buyers can be few types of buyers, can be DSPs, demand side platforms, can be SSPs, sales houses, ad networks that are focused on programmatic environment, connects all of those into our ecosystem and into your inventory. And we do that by hand-picking the right ones that have the highest impact, that provides the best eCPMs, and essentially increase your up-down. We're here for a while now. We never externalized our exchange work, but we started 6 years ago, actually, and we have I wouldn't say unique, but we have a little bit of a different focus and strategy than other types of exchanges. We split it to two. One is what we call the open exchange. Open exchange means that we technically connect all the right pipes, expose the inventory, and allow our buyers a fair approach and bidding into our ecosystem to try and grab the impressions and with their budgets. The direct sold exchange is a dedicated team within the ironSource that is in charge of going to the agencies and the brands and sell the inventory in a dedicated way with dedicated budgets and a dedicated pitch, which is something that is unique because on one hand, we have the open exchange that runs the buyers runs the inventory into the ecosystem for everyone. Doesn't have to be only to ironSource, only to the mobile environment. Every type of inventory, as long as it meets their targeting side from the demand side. And on the other side, the direct sold exchange is something that is a connect relationship, and those two affects each other. So the more direct relationship, direct sold budgets that I'm providing into the ecosystem, I'm actually increasing my score, my quality score, and increasing the amount of budgets that are going through the open exchange as well, according to the business logics of the major DSPs, which is pretty interesting. So how does it work? Really, to put it in a very simple way, on the left side, we have the types of buyers, we have the brands and agencies, and also the CPI-based user acquisition type of buyers using the right pipes. It can be brand-oriented DSPs like the Trade Desk, a very known name, or DV360 by Google. It can be by direct deals that are working with, on the ironSource case, with our direct sales, demand sales team for the brands. It can be through SSPs, sales houses, and also performance DSPs like Liftoff or Moloko, and etc. All of those guys are bidding into the Asos Exchange and competing on the ad impression. And when we're zooming out, what we see is obviously, again, in this case, in Asos case, we have our mediation. On the left side, we have the regular, let's call it ecosystem of the big networks that are bidding into that ecosystem: Facebook, Google, ironSource network itself, Unity, and etc. And then on the right side, we have the Asos Exchange, which is the gatekeeper that accumulate all the other bidders that I just explained going into that ecosystem. If this one wins, then it takes over those biddings. So as long as you have a competitive bid, you will go into that ecosystem and provide an ad. In this case, a US Army ad. They spend a lot of money, by the way, in the US, versus a game ad, for example. This is just a way for us to explain or try to simplify a little bit how does it work from the buying perspective. As I mentioned, we have the open exchange, so I'm not going to repeat that too much. And we have the directly sold, direct relationship type of exchange between demand and supply. Within that, directly sold, we have two types of deals, let's call it. One is a simple deal. What it means is, instead of the buyer targeting just a general inventory, whether if it's on mobile or not on mobile, etc., and targeting specific types of audiences, etc. They close a deal with specific inventory source, in this case, ironSource, but keeping their own targeting and changing their CPM bids and etc., and changing their budgets and not committing on that. But this is a higher level than the open exchange in terms of being committed and being using like a magnifier, a glass into the ironSource inventory and checking the quality of the inventory. And then the second phase, it's let's call it the best phase for us, is what we call programmatic guaranteed. It means that the demand side is closing a deal with the supply side in a way that they're dedicating specific amount of budget in a specific price without putting the targeting on their side and allowing the supply or ironSource as the gatekeeper for the supply to provide the right KPIs, meet the right KPIs, and lock that deal with 100% fill. And those type of deals, for example, can generate $300, $400 effective CPMs in the US, for example. So those are the best type of deals. And this is what our brand demand team is generally working on. So basically, this is our focus on the ironSource side. Other companies are doing that as well, usually focusing more on the open exchange. If we're taking a MoPub as an example, or MoPub that is now being deprecated, but historically, and etc. So when our team approached the demand side, the buyers, it paints the supply in a specific way in order to resonate on their incentive to buy specifically with mobile, specifically with games. And it's very interesting because you have to understand that from a brand perspective, the KPIs are completely different. It's more about brand awareness. It's more about approaching the right audience, and what they're measuring and the way they see things and their knowledge on the entire ecosystem is much, much lower than performance-based type of advertisers and that are well aware of everything. So what we do as a team, we try to start on the kind of the highest level saying, first of all, the perception is that a mobile gamer, or historically at least, which is something that's very hard to educate, is that a mobile gamer can be someone that really plays, let's call it hardcore games, maybe a young person, 16 years old, playing in their mom's basement, maybe, right? So I'm not sure if this is the right audience that I want to advertise an insurance plan, right? Or something like that. So what we do to begin with, we say a mobile gamer is not the right definition. What we call, or what we are able to tap into, is just the mobile environment of people, you and I, in all ages, if you can see on the left side, for example, that are just using the mobile devices to entertain in a specific time of day, and not hardcore type of gamers. So on the right side, we show it's not only about core games and etc. It's casual and arcade and shooters and all types of games. And we ask the people to raise their hands if they heard about this and that game, all sorts of very casual known games, match 3 games, and everyone kind of raises their hand, understanding that, okay, this is the type of environment that we can tap into. It's huge environment. So all types of ages, and also diversified. And this is a good example of here, what you can see is 37% with household income of at least $75,000 a year. That means that from a brand perspective, I want to reach the right audience, the audience that can actually either buy the product that I want to sell them, or just make sure that I'm reaching the right people. So this is kind of the highest level. And then we say those mobile gamers, right? It's you and I, it's everyone, are very engaged type of audience, and you should tap into that type of audience. So I'll just give one example. If you can see on the left side, 70% of, or up to 70% of the type of audience that we can reach for you, the demand partners, are actually watching TV while playing the game. So basically companies like DirecTV, which is a cable company in the US, right? They're very interested in this type of engagement and timing. So what we can do, we can target time of day, let's say 7 p.m. till 11 p.m., depending on the geo, right? Or if it's within the US. And also that are using Wi-Fi in their devices. to narrow the audience, narrow the field in order to target the best audience for that type of campaign. And this is our way, of our team's way, to increase the amount of demand that is running into that ecosystem, just as an example. Other than this, it's not only engage audience, but the type of supply that we can offer is a supply that we can provide advanced, creative, and provide the best way for the buyer, the advertiser, to connect with those users. So for example, if we're taking rewarded video, here on the top right side, we have an example of cereal or Fruit Loops or by Kellogg's, right? And providing a playable ad of match 3 to allow those users to kind of initiate with the ad and etc., which is very, very unique, because you have to understand when the buyers are planning their budgets, they're not thinking, okay, mobile in-app, do I want to do it games or not games? They're thinking TV, newspapers, desktop, mobile. It's very high level. And we need to kind of pinpoint them and tell them, this is a very high scale environment with the best, highest results for your goals. This is how we do. We start with the high level and going and drilling into the engagement, creatives, and also to their KPIs. So brain side of things, they have a very, very different KPIs. I'm not going to go into, because we don't have a lot of time, I'm not going to go too much into the details. I'll just provide one example. On the top left, it's a very known KPI. Or sorry, let's take this one, the viewability KPI. Viewability KPI just says, I want to make sure that our users that are watching our ad, in this case Adidas, are actually watching these ads. For example, if I'm looking at the news app and the user is reading the news and scrolling down, and I have an ad here, and it's scrolling down through the ad, and the ad is running, it's a video. But the user doesn't see that video, right? He's just continue reading the article, right? What's the value of that? For us, when we're working with full screens, our viewability rate is so high above the benchmark, so it's very appealing. And of course, we use third-party tools in order to verify all of those KPIs, so the buyers will be satisfied and make sure everything is safe and sound. So those are kind of the environment around that. And to get more of the brand share of voice from your perspective, the right tip, to be honest, the probably number one thing you should do is to use the right mediation. A mediation that has an advanced exchange, you will see a lot of demand coming in from that exchange, improving your performance. In Asos case, subjectively, we do have a very, very strong exchange. And what we do is we recently, a few days ago, or about 2 weeks ago, we split in the mediation, for the mediation guys that are here, we split the exchange demand that coming in with the Asos network demand that is coming in. And together with what Elyse mentioned and all of our measurement, you are able to see exactly the volumes that are running through the exchange into your inventory, and also through the Asos network, and kind of understand and analyze and do what you think. But basically, you pretty much need to work with the right mediation that has a very advanced exchange to enjoy that inventory. Otherwise, the rest is probably not relevant, unless you want to bring that inventory on your own, which is also fine. Another thing, banners. Banners is a great environment for exchange, especially for brands running behind the exchange, because from brand perspective, the CPMs are much more competitive on banner environment when competing with user acquisition campaigns. So that's something that is basic and that we see. So for example, if you are using banners in a specific way, or you want to add a specific type of banner, this will affect, and you will see more demand coming from an exchange in that case. Other than this, A/B testing between adding more placement like banners and the user acquisition, user experience that is being affected by it, and etc. Another thing, Appstxt, something that some of you are probably aware of. What is it? Just as a reminder, it's a file that lists all the ad sources that are authorized to sell their inventory. That means that if ironSource is a gatekeeper for the exchange, and you as the supply are updating the Appstxt, then the gatekeepers, the one that are holding that demand from coming into the ecosystem, need to make sure that ironSource is being authorized to sell your inventory as either as a direct, in ironSource case it's direct, or a reseller. So it's both for safety and also for supply path optimization. And in this case, if you're updating the appstxt.txt, then you are allowing ironSource to open their gates and placing that demand to your inventory. So that's the appstxt. And then last but not least, stay proactive and knowledgeable about the entire ecosystem. There's the KPIs. So on your side, you're seeing, for example, with the exchange that, hey, there's a great competitive CPMs coming in specific geos from the Asos Exchange. For example, amazing, I want to see more, I want to get more. But you also need to be knowledgeable about what are the KPIs that those demand partners that are bidding on your ecosystem, what do they see? And if this is above the average of what they're looking for or not, then you can use your dedicated account manager to understand this respectively. Also, for the example that I showed with the internal email, if you are open to invest a little bit and be creative enough together with the internal teams to pitch for the demand, you can win very high budgets by implementing creatives inside your game, for example, or doing all sorts of creative things that requires a little bit of work from supply side, but wins a lot of budgets from demand side because it's very unique and interesting, and it just this is what we see historically. And last but not least, work closely with your local AM, ask the right question. There's a specific amount of knowledge in the industry, and don't be shy, and know that if you're learning and if you're asking the right questions to our account managers and in general, you will see things increasing. And a lot of the times internally, we have decision making of where to allocate those demand budgets according to what makes sense. Sometimes it's targeting, sometimes it's quality, sometimes a little bit of investment on the supply side of a more unique placement of things to put it in. If you're staying proactive around that and knowledgeable, you will see more of those coming your way. So this is pretty much it. Thank you. And back to you, Yuval.
Amazing. I mean, thank you so much. It was super interesting. Great. So thank you for all the session owners. Super important and interesting information. I learned as well. And great. We can now answer some questions. So I'll start off with questions for Anna. So first question, Anna, is what is the best KPI to follow for rewarded video testing engagement rate?
Okay, Yosef, it's a very reasonable question. First of all, if you are A/B testing rewarded video, of course, you want to reach a specific KPI in the engagement rate, and not only the engagement rate, but also usage rate, impressions per DAU per DEU. But if someone will tell you that there is a specific number that you need to reach, don't listen to them. Like recently in the public, I heard someone saying like, oh, you need to have 60% engagement rate for sure and 5 impressions per daily active users. Can we curse in live? No, probably not. But it's not true. It really depends on the OS. Is it iOS or Android? It really depends on the country. And it really depends on the genre of the game that you are testing. Of course, you want to reach to the maximum. Different genres have different KPIs for rewarded video. Say, for example, fighting RPG will have the 20% engagement rate that you want to reach to, but maximum can be up to 40. But when you're, for example, having an idle game, it will be the average will be 40, but you can reach up to 80. This can be really tested through the A/B test and reach like placement by placement when you're trying new things within the game. Also, like if you're working with ironSource, we can help you with the KPIs and benchmarks, so you can find where you are standing with your game specifically. I hope I answered the question.
Great. I think you provided a great answer, and I definitely connect to ask your mediations account manager, and they can help you with where you stand compared to genres benchmark. Great. Second question for Anna is, do you know any cases of retention decreasing after offer walls implementation?
This is a bit like interesting question because it was an anonymous question. So I have a question to this person, like, did you implement an offer wall and saw the retention drop? Because generally any ads unit in the vacuum has a potential for a retention drop, because basically you're showing an ad or something else of another game, but more rarely a brand, more often a game, sometimes in your category, sometimes in another genre, but anytime it's a place where a player can churn. On the other hand, offer wall is targeted and is used by the loyal players in your game who are willing to go far to get the hard currency in your game. They're going to leave your game, they're going to probably install the game and reach the other game level 5 in order to get the gems or whatever hard currency that you have in the offer wall. I don't have specific numbers for you, but offer wall potentially increases the retention, not drops the retention.
Amazing. Thank you, Anna. Great. We'll move to questions to Elyse. So first question would be, beside testing a new rewarded video, which other A/B tests should I be running?
It's a great question. So I think we can break it down into a few different pieces. The first piece of component that you can test is the component of your monetization strategy around all of the ad networks that you're working with. So you can easily A/B test adding a new ad network that you might want to work with. And you can also test how you actually work with them. So usually we recommend to use bidding if ad networks offer it, but some ad networks may not have bidding available. So you can test also different setup of different price points with those networks. And also you can test how you're actually optimizing your waterfalls. So are you grouping things by specific countries, or are you creating a whole ad network strategy just for specific countries like the US? So you can easily use the A/B testing tool to check this. And then we can think about testing everything about ad implementation, which Anna talked about. So whether that's adding a new ad unit, or a new placement, like the RV placement I talked about, but also everything around how you implement that placement, where in the game you put it, pacing of the ads that you show, capping of the ads, so how many ads per day do you want to show to users, and also the rewards. So let's say for a rewarded video, I can A/B test the actual amount of the reward that the user gets for watching the ad. And then the third way we can look at it is all around segments of your users. So probably you want to have a different ad strategy for different types of users in your game. Let's say a simple example is paying users versus non-paying users. So I can actually use A/B testing to examine what's the best strategy for paying users versus non-paying users in my game. So whether I'm showing them different types of ads or using different networks to monetize those users. Everything around segments that you've all talked about, all of the different capabilities we have around segmentation, we can test all of that using the A/B testing tool. So there's kind of infinite tests that you can run. And again, we always recommend that you're A/B testing because this gives you the best way to understand what are the decisions you should make for your monetization strategy in the game.
Amazing. Thank you, Elyse. Second question for you is, do publishers have visibility on who the demand partners, say DSPs, are behind the revenue generated by Asos Exchange?
Can you repeat that, Yuval?
Yeah, the question is about transparency for the DSP.
Yeah.
Behind, yeah.
Okay. So yeah, you can see it. You can see everything through the real-time pivot. And also not only the name of the DSPs and the demand source. I mean, you cannot see the buyer itself, so you cannot see if it's Coca-Cola or McDonald's behind it, but you can see if it's the trade desk or a different type of demand partner. You can also see the revenue, the impressions, and also the CPMs, and I believe, at least, correct me if I'm wrong, some other stuff also as part of that. But pretty much can use the entire real-time pivot also for the exchange side of things.
Amazing. Thank you. So continuing to a few other questions. So in terms of first question, I'll take some answers, some questions. So first question was, how can we segment, where can we segment users? Which tool is a ironSource mediation? So the answer is yes. Inside LevelPlay mediation, we have a dedicated segment tool. So this is the place where you can segment and do the different usages we shared earlier. Second question is about the type of, it's about the interstitial ad unit. And the question is if display or static ads are still a good alternative for video interstitials. So my answer will actually divide to two. First of all, we see all types of demand running on all types of ad units. Definitely on interstitial, we see the most common ad types would be video and playables and also static. Now, when we look at from the advertiser's perspective, if the advertiser is trying to bring installs, right, and it's a CPI campaign trying to bring more and more installs, I would definitely say that usually we see video working better in terms of performance. Having said that, as we specified in the sessions today, we have all types of demand, right? So for brand demand, for example, we definitely see a very, very good performance of static ads, exactly like Amit said, and banners on interstitials. Across all the ad units, we see really good performance from these static ad units because they work with different KPIs. Great. Third question was about how does ironSource Exchange interact with the waterfall, and does it occupy a position in the waterfall? So I'll take that one as well. Inside our auction, ironSource Exchange is basically another ad source. So in real time, if the ironSource Exchange is the highest payer at that time, then it will get the impression. If it's not the highest payer at that time, among all demand sources that you can connect, like through every demand source you want in the world, so the highest pair wins at real time. Great. Do we have more questions? I'm just looking while we speak. Okay, great. So I want to thank again all the session owners. It was very, very insightful. If we'll have some remnant question, we'll try to answer them retroactively. And I hope it was interesting for everyone. And I appreciate your time and thank you so much.
Thank you all.
Thank you everyone for coming and spending your time.